We've only just recently published our first review of the new Audi A6 Avant, and here we can show you the new saloon. This is actually going to be the biggest seller in our part of the world. I'm really glad to see that it is also a traditional saloon. People who are looking at the Audi A6 e-tron and wondering, first of all, if they're going to go electric. Second of all, it's a 5-door, it's not a traditional saloon. This will probably be an answer to their prayers. We're going to have a quick look around the car here. Interestingly, the car they've let us have a look at is entry level, so it's not S-Line. So what you're seeing here is not a high-end, high-spec car, perhaps except the wheels. So it's a very, very elegant form. I really like this side view here, and there's a traditional boot here at the back. And I think this is what's going to excite buyers more than anything. There's no point me talking through all of this design because I'm not an expert, but we do have one on hand. I'm going to introduce Francesco De More, and he's an exterior designer at Audi. Hi, Francesco.
Hi, Shane.
Thanks for this.
Nice to meet you.
You too. Now, Francesco asked me to start at the side of the car because that's perhaps, the most obvious starting point for the saloon. So, Francesco, talk us through the side of the new A6.
Exactly. The side for us is really important because this is what makes the car belong to this C segment. So that's what we call it. And proportions are really the key of such segment. This is a big car and therefore it has big wheels, it has beautiful proportion, and that's why I like to start here. What is specific of the saloon is the fact that we keep evolving our design. So as we can read here, this is an A6, and the A6 has been the first car to show this bow here, this arc. We call it literally the Audi bow internally, and we like it because it's very architectural, it has a strong statement, and it makes our saloon just be obviously an Audi. Starting from that, you have the big muscles, the big wheels sitting really far outside. Many people are already noticing how wide the car looks. This is all part of making the car look so confident. From the side view, you can clearly flow into the rear view because that's what you already mentioned. It's something special about this car. We differentiate our customers, and we created a traditional saloon on purpose because this is what makes the A6 what it is. And so even though you have a very steep and coupe-like, very sensual feeling here, you still have the traditional boot. This means no air is coming in the cabin. You have some advantages from that. And of course, we improved a lot on the aerodynamics. So we spent a lot of time working this surface here, this crisp line there. This all meant a lot to us, and we did it over and over again until we achieved this extremely good value of aerodynamics. Then inspiration for this generation was our C5, so that's why you see this very full surfacing with clear shut lines on it. This is part of an Audi tradition of reducing to the minimum and yet having the biggest appeal we can have. I think it looks very sensual. It has a lot of shadings between light and darkness. Looks pretty good.
On the subject of light, of course, Audi is gone big on lighting technology. So can you talk us through these LED lights and the full width bar at the back?
Yes, I think it's something really special of the A6. We always introduce some bigger steps in technology, and in this case it's really the rear light that make this special effect. So what you see here now, it's a darker color, but when you will imagine a bright car, a white or whatever, you will see that this band here is always body color. Very important because this gives you a split between the red part where we have the OLED or the LED. So this is the more beautiful part of the lights. You can change signatures. And then you have this more technical element. Even the sections are more technical here. And this is where all the functions are in. So you have the reverse gear, you have the indicator, it keeps changing color. And then my favorite is the brake light, which is vertical. And that's something no one else has, and we're really proud of it.
And this particular car, I noticed, has 2 exhaust outlets. Previously Audi might have been criticized for using exhaust outlets that weren't real, and that's now changed, is that right?
That's a big change. We learn, we like to improve all the time. We try different things, but this was clear for us. We have to get back to this. And basically every time you will see the 2 exhausts, so a symmetric design, this means it's a petrol engine car. And when you will have an asymmetric design because of the technique with the double exhaust here, that's the diesel, and this is because of functions. And so we just agreed to be asymmetric. That's also a big step for us, but that's exactly what customers were looking for.
And should we walk around to the front, because I know it shares most of the front with the A6 Avant we've already driven, but I think it's worth pointing out some of the details because some people will look at the new A6 e-tron and assume that this is the same, but this is actually quite different at the front.
It's a completely different car. Literally, it's based on a different platform. This is the PPC, so Premium Platform Combustion, and therefore everything is completely different. As I think I mentioned at the back, we want to address more classical customers in this case. That's why the design is a bit more traditional, but yet looks very progressive at the same time. We have, for example, a single light here, and yet we split it in two. You can see that we have this brighter metal piece here at the top so that the eye is visible even when the car is parked and no light is on, so you always have some kind of a phase, and then the beam and the functions are below. So we do split them, but they all belong in one normal classical headlight. And then we also improved a lot of design topics. For example, the single frame shape. It's literally the first time we develop it all the way to the bottom. We don't have an extra element at the bottom. This is also very aerodynamic, the shape that we have here, and specifically for the base model. And we like to mention this a lot. We have everything painted, everything looks already really good, and it's totally on functions oriented. That's why the big surface where you don't need cooling, they're just closed. The car looks a lot more proud and confident. And then function, again, aerodynamics with these air curtains, they're open. They help us to reduce the pressure on the car, and they work fantastically. Beautiful design elements to show that still form follows function.
Before I let you go, can you tell me what is your favorite aspect? It could be a tiny little detail, something. Tell me your favorite aspect of this car.
I really like the single frame first because the A6 introduced the single frame, so it's nice to be part of this history. But we did something very special out of the rings and out of the shape to make this very confident, big central surfaces, so everything is almost in one go and the rings sitting slightly above. I think this makes the car looks very prestigious and confident.
Excellent. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Right, now that we've got rid of the designer, we can talk about the practicalities of this car. It is, after all, a car that people will buy with family, they will probably be travelling around the country a lot in, and they still want it to be practical, even though it is a very elegant, very good looking car. Speaking of which, the boot. Now, in here, you have nearly 500 litres of space. Apparently it's a little bit down on its predecessor, but that's only mainly in the nooks and crannies because now the cars have mild hybrid technology and there's an AdBlue tank under there, etc. So they take up a little bit of space, but still 500 litres is plenty. It's practical enough. Probably just as importantly, and I was speaking to Francesco about this before we came on camera, is if a designer had their way, they would have this roof even lower. But this is a bit of a pinch point here for getting into the back. And while this isn't a limousine as such, it still needs to be comfortable for an adult to get into. Now, I'm 5'8", 5'9", and that's not difficult to get in. There's plenty of space inside here. There's loads of space in the other two seats in particular. Of course, the person who buys this car is probably going to be sitting in this seat, and it is a lovely interior. It's just like the A6 Avant we drove a couple of weeks back. It's got what Audi calls this soft wrap, and you probably can't really see it in this black interior, but all the way across the front here and into the doors, there's always some soft material. It can be a lovely Alcantara-like suede. This one's actually leather-like. It's quite understated, this car. This is actually very similar to what will be an SE in Ireland, which is really good news because this is really high spec, lovely equipment, etc. The digital dashboard is the latest Audi thing, of course. You have digital instrumentation, a very big touchscreen there, and that's all in one big curved unit. The passenger display is optional. I don't particularly love it myself. I don't like the look of it. Some people might find it functional, but anyway, that's an extra and it's part of a tech pack, and that's up to you whether you go for that. We don't yet have prices for this car. We know that the A6 Avant starts from a good bit under €70,000, so this will be a bit less again, no doubt. There will be diesel, and eventually there will be plug-in hybrids, and we think they will actually be the most popular one. Well, that's our first look at the new A6 saloon. Very promising. People will be really happy to see they can still get a proper saloon. They'll still be able to get a diesel saloon, whereas some brands are abandoning that, and we'll be interested to see what this drive is like later in the year. If you want to know more, we've got a full news story over on CompleteCar.ie, and that website, as ever, is a great resource for finding your next new car.